We are back with part 3 of African Voices in the Energy Space, a podcast brought to you by AHADI Collab. We are concluding this conversation on energy poverty. Let's hear how Siwe and Bathandwa conclude.
So independent power producers in the current policy framework are also like existing at a national level.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So for the local level, so bringing it down to the grassroots, it still hasn't been properly defined.
Yes.
There isn't any existing framework currently that simplifies and makes it local, makes that whole thing local.
Absolutely.
For municipalities and for communities.
communities.
We now have to start thinking about the just transition aspect that you're talking about.
Yes.
When we're talking about policy and when we're talking about implementation and we're talking about active participation in the economy or in the sector, whatever sector it is, the just transition is actually adding communities as part of the value chain.
Because if a developer comes and puts a wind farm here but does not consider the implications that has on the community here, does not have any real benefits, real transformation, real affordable energy for the local community that's there. I mean, there's a couple examples we can have from right here in the Western Cape. What do we do about kind of making this a little bit more inclusive? Do we now need to rethink whole national policy? Do we need to rethink how participation and democracy works, how transparency works? Do we need to have, I think, more active involvement? I just don't know what the solutions are. I mean, we have some ideas, but I don't know how we realize it in the South African context.
Yeah.
You know, you've got countries like Switzerland where there's a referendum for every single policy, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they have systems where every decision needs to be, passed by the people. And I look at our context where there's political elites, there are energy elites. It's a very closed system. And in order to even address energy poverty, which affects the lowest of income holders in this country, I just I want you to speak on how we exactly move forward and how we bridge that gap between the technocrat and the policymaker and the community.
I do think that we really need to be hard about all these announcements that have been made. So we really need to be hard and we really need to forge forward and we really need to be determined about decentralizing energy generation. So for
just like the president's announcement.
Yes. So all of that. So we really need to really be hard on that. So what I mean by we in the sense that local government, because the people are actually the first point of government for the people is local government.
Yes.
So if we add in communities as a tier in that, so it's now going to be national, provincial, local, and the people. So the first point for them would be local government.
Yes.
That's for me. I feel the whole aspect of now self-generation, looking at cutting the cost of energy access, and improving energy affordability would then center there. So what's happening now is municipalities have started rolling out small-scale embedded generation, but it would be interesting to actually look at alternative energy sources, and I think some municipalities, I think Stellenbosch is sort of looking at a pilot around that, where attached to the free basic energy kilowatts that they get, then there's the other aspect that looks at alternative energy. So I think the country tried, but it failed when they installed solar geysers. So solar geysers were sort of another response to sort of lowering the cost and improving affordability for low-income households. So think about a model where the households have an option. Obviously, they are going to be consulted, and there has to be more than one option of, do you want to get kilowatts and a solar panel on your roof to sort of subsidize your generation and your usage costs?
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
Or do you want to get LPG to subsidize your cooking and whatnot and whatnot? So I think that's the part that is currently missing.
Yes.
The fact that they haven't diversified FBE or FBAE. It hasn't been identified. So FBAE, when I was looking at it, it's really just the alternative there. Back then was talking about paraffin candles and gas. So the alternative part of that was saying we're going to give you electricity and so that end needs to sort of phase off because those type of energy forms are not good for us. We know that they're not good. They create emissions and whatnot and whatnot. So we need to now start moving people away from that. So the education part comes in now. So communities really need to start getting educated about understanding energy. So what is energy?
The decarbonization conversation cannot happen at a national level. It also needs to
come to the local level. And then again, the efficiency side of things. Energy efficiency is also spoken of at large scale. Your buildings, your commercial, your whatnot.
Absolutely.
It hasn't really come down to households. So all households for that matter. You know, for high income, they're always at an advantage because they have access to getting to actually commenting when a certain piece of legislation is out. They get access to actually comment and put in their views. But for middle and low income who may not even know that there's a certain legislation piece that is out for comment, you need to sort of design forms of reaching to them to say, we're just rolling out a program on actually making people understand what energy is and the whole aspect around what the whole energy value chain is. So your energy efficiency. How do you save within the household? What kind of appliances should you look at? What kind of behavior that you should have such that your 50 kilowatts or whatever actually lasts you longer and you actually spend less. Because remember in the beginning we said they spend 10% and more, some 15%, some 20%,
which is what
of their income.
You know, falling into that bracket of energy poverty. And a very practical example, I'm sorry I keep coming back to this because it's just such a hot topic right now in South Africa, the fact that the president has made this huge announcement that he's lifting license exemptions for
up until 100
for the embedded generation threshold to 100 megawatts. That's cool and that's great at a decarbonization kind of conversation about injecting new investment into the country and also mitigating the risk of climate change. You know, decarbonizing the sector, moving away from coal, decentralizing it a little bit, giving more players into the energy generation space. But what does that mean from a developmental perspective? What does that mean for addressing socioeconomic inequality in this country? How do we make it more human-centered? And every single thing you've spoken about just now, you made a comment just now about the fact that people don't even know that there's public commentary. There's no option for that. And there was a period of public commentary, but did the communities where that would happen even know?
No.
We're waiting now.
The same people who comment are the same people who don't have the first-hand experience.
Yes.
Right? So
absolutely.
Their comments I always find it interesting if you're actually going through, because some of those comments get published. You're actually going through those comments and most of the time it's always looking at the separate interests for those particular groups.
That's right.
That no, this is going to hit business. We're not going to be able to you know. So it's always looking at their own interests, and never the interest of the you know, the end user you know, the one person who's affected by all of this, or who will be affected by all of this. So you find that your low income households actually, they don't have a voice and they're not given the space to have a voice.
The energy transitions conversation is happening, but it's divorcing the human experience, which is the majority of this country. You know, most of the people in this country don't, you know, we've got a very high inequality gap, and most don't have access to those conversations. And
I mean, I'm sure a family in Khayelitsha or Mlazi somewhere was just sitting listening to the news, and the president makes the announcement, and they're probably like, what?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
What exactly
and
is he talking about?
That's not okay.
You know, because people don't know where energy comes from.
Yes.
And so if you're talking about decarbonization and alternative energy and all of these things, they don't know what it is.
And they should. They should
They
should participate actively because it affects them directly.
Exactly.
If a president look at the controversial car powership deal, say that passes, that's energy for generation, and that tariff goes to the consumer. They see the price on their bill, but what does that mean?
Exactly.
Is it cheaper versus solar? Whatever. Where you generate the electricity. I think it's kind of important that there's a little bit more participation, you know.
Yeah, so the opportunity thing that you were talking about also, to say he's making that announcement, but there isn't anything that is following up to say we're going to open up participation for SMMEs that are black owned, that are women owned, that are coming from specific regions. And we're going to roll out capacity building for those people to understand what it is that they're going to be doing. So to open it up to that level, then would actually, now you're actually achieving
that developmental aspect, getting people to participate in the economy meaningfully where they are. Wow. Bathandwa, thank you. I mean, I could talk about this conversation all day. You know, energy poverty is such a complex and multifaceted issue. It's driven by a diverse range of social and economic factors. We've spoken about electricity prices. We've spoken about the fact that the current policies that exist are inadequate, you know, potential solutions. I mean, this is one conversation that we're having on this podcast, but this needs to happen at a grander scale. And I really hope that by us having these conversations in our spaces where we work, it will make other people working in the sector rethink how we approach our work, how we advocate for participation, how we look at energy poverty and energy access, and just the electricity conversation as a whole.
As a whole, yeah.
As broader macroeconomic issues that need to be factored in national policy and then trickle down as well to the local level and the community level. Making sure that people participate in a meaningful way so that they're included. So, thank you so much. This has been such a fruitful discussion. And I just hope that whoever listened will participate with us moving forward, and we can have these conversations moving forward.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. I've learned a lot. And it's a good exchange, and I think it's also nice as somebody who's in the space to get yourself out of the box. For sometimes
get yourself out of modeling.
And
look at
and actually discuss the real issues that are happening, and it sort of places you at a point where you also start questioning everything else that's happening. Is it really responding to the need, and so thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Bathandwa. I think we'll wrap it up there. And cheers to everyone, and thank you for listening. Bye.
Our guest for this episode was the incredible Bathandwa Vazi, hosted by Siwe Kuse. Thanks for listening, and thanks to you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help us grow our following, please share it with others, post it on social media, or leave a rating and a review. This podcast is brought to you by AHADI Collab, which brings together young Black professionals in the energy sector. To catch all the latest from AHADI Collab, keep tuning into our podcast almost every week. Thanks.